This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
Hey everybody, it is the After Party live on a Hide in Your Cave Monday. So excited to have Michael Schur on the show this week on the Mark Thompson Show. Not this show, the one before it. The Mark Thompson Show is live 11 a.m. Pacific to 1 p.m. Pacific, Monday through Friday. And this week Mark is off and Michael Schur is in. So I'm kind of excited tomorrow to see how he'll interact with David K. Johnston and see what that conversation will be like. Thank you for watching that show and for being here for this show as well. Really appreciate it. And for all the contributions on the Mark Thompson Show and this one as well. This show is crowdfunded, which means the reason that it's on the air is because you support it. You come here, you support the show. The messages that I get are really, really overwhelmingly positive. So thank you so much, Calvin Wong, for sending a bunch of stories my way recently. Also, thank you to Lori, teacher Lori, who loves to send stories. Kathy O sending stories as well. Really appreciate all the lovely messages so much. So thank you for that. Okay, let's jump into... Oh, look at this, Luis with a couple bucks. Kim, you're doing an awesome job. Mahalo, my friend. Thank you. I'll tell you this, Luis, it's really hard, especially when Mark's gone, to try to fill up that show with a bunch of content and this one as well. So it's a lot more time and effort on my part, but I think the show was really good today and I'm kind of excited about the week ahead. So thank you for the compliment and the nice words. Really appreciate it. And thank you for noticing, Luis. I appreciate that very much. Always nice to be recognized, really cool. Let's talk about this story because I thought this was fascinating. Can you imagine getting involved in a road widening project and this is what you see? What is that? It's an ancient pyramid that was uncovered during a highway construction. They're working on widening this road and they're calling this find culturally significant. This is wild. So it happened near Hidalgo, Mexico. They were trying to put in a third lane on the highway here at the Pachuca-Huejotla Highway. And workers that were digging accidentally discovered this 1,375-year-old pyramid built, they say, during the height of the Metzka lordship. It was a multi-ethnic society, Metzka lordship. Yeah, the Ministry of Culture and the National Institute of Anthropology and History in Mexico say they first found evidence of this site being called the San Miguel site, named after the nearby town of San Miguel Metzquititlan. Sorry about my pronunciation for folks that know better. In early June. So they started then with archaeologists excavating portions of this roadway after the highway work was stopped, because the minute they found this, they halted the work. Eventually, they unearthed portions of what they call Structure 1. It is this pyramid that consisted of 5 sectors containing at least 10 mounds. By the end of the dig, the team says they recovered 155 artifacts like shells, ceramics, stone materials. They noted evidence of charcoal, charred wood, lime floors. They say the ruins were likely built by the lordship of Metztitlan, also known as the Metzka lordship, which was this multi-ethnic culture that lived in the Sierra Alta area of Hidalgo between 650 and 950 CE and late post-classic 1350 to 1519 CE eras. Okay. The director of tourism for San Agustin Metzquititlan said there are no known remnants of pre-Hispanic civilizations in this immediate area prior to this discovery of the San Miguel site. So now they're looking at doing these deeper studies to uncover the cultural content and context of this significant find. They said even after exhaustive documentation on this site, using drone-based photogrammetry. Researchers, they said, needed to build about a 141-foot long, 38-foot high, 2.5-foot thick rock masonry wall along the pyramid's exposed base. They said the excavated areas were then reburied to maintain their integrity, but not before coating the exposed areas in geotextiles to better preserve them. Might be a while before they can return to re-examine the San Miguel site because there's a budget cut that funds are being reduced by 45% in 2025. So that really gets in the way of trying to figure out what this really is, what this meant to these peoples, what it meant to the history of this area. They have recovered materials and structural surveys, providing researchers with information to help try to understand this region a little bit better. They say the archaeological record provides valuable insights into the human occupation of the Sierra Alta region, where the history traces settlements back 14,000 years. Can you imagine digging in a road and you find a pyramid? Wild. And there it is. So I guess I don't know what you do with the roadway now. I guess move in the other direction and hope that, you know, there's nothing there. It seems to me this whole area, there's probably stuff even under the roadway. Like what else is there that they need to know about that they should really try to uncover? Maybe this is the wrong place for a highway. Yeah. Pretty cool. There's also a story I found about this. I call it the old bird story. They don't have the same kind of limitations as human females. We reach a certain age and that's it for baby making. We're done. The eggs are all cracked, fuzzy, and dried out. Party over. The world's oldest known wild bird laid an egg in Hawaii at age 74. It's her first egg she's laid in 4 years. The long-winged seabird is named Wisdom. A Wisdom is a Laysan albatross. She went back to Midway Atoll National Wildlife Refuge at the northwestern edge of the Hawaiian island chain, and she laid what experts think might be about her 60th egg. Yeah. Wisdom and her mate, Akia Kamai, returned to the atoll to lay and hatch eggs. The first time that they've done so since 2006. These albatrosses mate for life and are supposed to lay 1 egg per year. But Akia Kamai has not been seen for several years, so Wisdom started interacting with another male when she returned last week. So looks like the original mate is out of the question. That's the way it goes. They say they're optimistic, the wildlife experts, that the egg will actually hatch. Every year, they say millions of seabirds return to this refuge to nest and to raise their young. The albatross parents, the way it works is they take turns incubating an egg for about 2 months. And then once the egg hatches, the chicks fly out to sea about 5 to 6 months after the egg is hatched. And they spend most of their lives flying over the ocean, feeding on fish eggs, feeding on squid. We've known about Wisdom since 1956. That is when she was first banded as an adult. She's raised as many as 30 chicks in her lifetime, now maybe another one. So the typical lifespan of a Laysan albatross is 68 years. She's 74. So this is pretty cool. And here she is, still laying eggs, still going for it. Again, she's the oldest known wild bird to lay an egg at this age. So that's pretty cool. There she is in all her glory. Let's hope the egg hatches and there's a healthy little one in there. This is a story. I don't think we covered this last week. I still had it in the show. We're calling it the drive-through steer. This pet steer regularly is taken through Tim Hortons drive-through in Alberta, Canada. This steer was originally bought for meat, but the person who purchased the steer ended up loving this animal so much that it became a beloved pet. And now, a local celebrity known for frequent trips to the local Tim Hortons drive-through. Kelly Landry said she bought this Holstein steer named Magnum and fully intended to harvest him for meat, but said she quickly got attached. She said he's a cow, but with the mentality of a horse and the personality of a dog. She said, "This was very clear to me that it was a friend, not food. He would come see me and moo at me. He would run around the barn and call for me." And everyone in the community loves Magnum too. She often rides him, which I didn't know you could ride a cow, but apparently you can. I mean, I guess I've seen bulls being ridden in rodeos on screen. Never actually been to one, but I wouldn't. I would think that would be something to look twice at if you saw someone riding a steer down the road. Magnum is often seen with this woman, Kelly, on his back. They're best known for their trips to the drive-through, the Tim Hortons, where he's got favorite treats. They're called Timbits at the Tim Hortons drive-through, and he loves them. She said, "I love to go to Tim Hortons. Many people do it with horses, but that's too common." She said, "I just have to have some social time, and people love to see it. And they always attract a crowd when they go to the drive-through." So people are gathering around and taking lots of pictures. Some people trying to take her out to coffee because they love this thing. They want to chat her up and ask questions. But there he goes, friend, not food. I hope they're not feeding him beef. That'd be kind of ick. There is finally a cat mystery that has been solved. Oh, yes, it has. And it's something I didn't even know was a mystery. But apparently it's a great cat mystery. And here it is. Most orange cats are male, and most all calicos and tortoiseshells are female. Did you know this? I did not. The difference in hair color is what science have been mystified over, cat lovers as well, until now. And now they understand why. So, Science Magazine has an article about this team led by a geneticist out of Stanford. His name is Greg Barsh. And Greg Barsh has uncovered the genetic mutation responsible for orange fur in cats, the orange coloring coming from a specific gene called ARGHAP36 found on the X chromosome. And he says, since males have only one X chromosome, they express this mutation fully, leading to their signature fully orange coats. But female cats with two X chromosomes end up displaying a mix of colors, and that's what creates calicos and torties. They worked with skin samples from spay-neuter clinics to find and identify this mutation. And they found these melanocytes, pigment-producing cells from orange cats, produced 13 times more RNA from this gene than those from non-orange cats. And so they confirmed their findings by analyzing cat genomes, and a separate study by scientists in Japan reached the same conclusion. What they say makes this whole thing really exciting, if you can get excited about the colors of cats, which I think we can, is that the gene wasn't previously known to influence pigmentation. They say the breakthrough on this mystery is explaining feline genetics and could help trace the history of orange cats because we need to know where they came from. Some evidence suggests their orangeness may date back to ancient Egyptian mummified cats. So they've been around a long time. Now we know a little bit why most orange cats are male. I thought you might enjoy that story. I don't think we've talked about this story yet, but if we have, please let me know because I kind of got confused as to what I had covered and I meant to cover, and I don't think I talked about this one. This is a story about old needles. I think I have the picture as well. Did we talk about this one yet? I don't think we did. I'm going to the chat. Tell me if I talked about old needles made from bone. Rev P with the cat story says, I've had calicos and tortoise shells, and indeed, they've all been females. Mm-hmm. Rare but not impossible, writes Heather. It's true. I saw a guy riding an elephant down the street in Bangkok. Well, that would be the place for it, right? Yeah. Um, okay, so I don't think anyone has said that we have uh talked about the needle story, so I'm going for it. Old needles, not that I recall, says John. Okay, good. Let's move forward with the old needles. I still miss my orange kitty, Finley. I'm sorry, Jim. Yeah. My parents have a big, fluffy, fat, fluffy orange girl kitty. Oh, really? Wow. Well, she's a rare kitty. Give her extra hugs. Let's talk about the needles, the eyes needles. These are made of bone, as mentioned, and they're found all over the place, but these were unearthed, or some of them were unearthed at a Wyoming site where they think a mammoth was butchered 13,000 years ago. And they think that it shows how the earliest Americans survived the last ice age. They were sewing clothes. Archaeologists found 32 needle fragments made from animal bone buried almost 15 feet underground at the Laprelle site in Converse County, Wyoming. They say they are not the earliest eyed needles that have been found, but for the first time, they may be able to identify what these needles were made of by analyzing the protein information contained in bone collagen. And they didn't expect to find what they found. They had assumed that the needles made of bone, would be made out of bison or mammoth bone, because that's what most of the bones found at La Prelle and other sites from this era in the high plains and the Rocky Mountains of North America. That's what they would have been made out of. That's what they thought. According to Wyoming state archaeologist Spencer Pelton, who's the lead author of this new study on needles, published November 27th in the scientific journal PLOS One, they were created from the bones of red foxes, bobcats, mountain lions, the lynx, the now extinct American cheetah, the hairs or rabbits, rather, my apologies, according to the study. And Pelton said, I was extremely surprised that these needles were made out of small carnivores. They extracted collagen from these artifacts and they analyzed the chemical composition, short chains of amino acids called peptides, and they compared those results with peptide data from animals known to have existed during that period in North America. It's called zooarchaeology. And they did it with mass spectrometry, or something called zooms. They say this Laprelle mammoth site was first discovered in 1986. They think what happened here is a group of prehistoric people either killed or scavenged a young mammoth there and set up a temporary camp to process the carcass. And they say, given the age of the site and some distinctive artifacts, the people who camped out at Laprelle were likely from the Clovis culture, which is one of North America's oldest known human populations. They say finding these tiny little needles required thorough, precise excavation. The team identified concentrations of buried artifacts by digging multiple test pits until they identified relatively dense concentrations of artifacts. And they revealed the floors of dozens of temporary dwellings as well. But they only found the needles when they used fine screen mesh to sift the excavated sediment. That relatively few archaeological sites are excavated with this level of precision, so it's possible that bone needles like this have been missed during previous excavations at other sites. They also say it kind of makes sense that the bones would have been made from smaller creatures. They say they have evidence of animal trapping now because foxes and wildcats are difficult to kill using traditional hunting tools like spears. So they now think that Stone Age hunters caught these small carnivores with traps. They still don't have direct evidence of that, but that's what they think. And they say it makes sense that early humans would use these small, thin paw bones of dogs, cats, and rabbits to make needles as well. So, kind of interesting what humans did so long ago. Um, okay, I think I have another story about excavation. It's kind of an archaeology heavy show today, but I thought this was pretty interesting as well. This one is out of Denmark, and this involves weaponry that has been uncovered. Archaeologists in Denmark found 100 weapons from the Iron Age during their excavations in Hedensted, Denmark. They were also trying to expand a freeway, kind of like the pyramid folks, and they revealed several well-preserved ancient artifacts from the Iron Age that looked like they were buried intentionally thousands and thousands of years ago. So they did these excavations at Lonsing Sondermark, and they say they found a lot of weaponry buried by a chieftain. They think it was an offering to a higher power. The weaponry dates back to the Iron Age. The large number of artifacts here that were found would have been enough to equip a small army. And here's what the archaeologists are saying. From the very first surveys, we knew this was going to be extraordinary. But the excavation has exceeded all of our expectations. The sheer number of weapons, astonishing. But what fascinates them the most is the glimpse they provide into the societal structure and daily life in the Iron Age. They said, we feel suddenly very close to the people who lived here 1,500 years ago. Among the artifacts found during this dig, 119 lances and spears, 8 swords, 5 knives, 3 arrowheads, 1 axe, a bridle, fragments of a bugle, fragments of at least 2 oath rings, and several bronze and iron objects that have not been identified yet. They also found a very rare chainmail as well, the type of armor worn by knights and military men, created by sewing iron rings or fabric together. This kind of armor took special resources to create, took a lot of effort as well. So making a costly piece like that was reserved for people that had some type of elite status. There were fragments of 2 bronze neck rings at the site as well, which point, they say, to the power and influence that this chieftain had. They're still analyzing items uncovered from this site, and so we may find even more about what they are learning from this area. Cool. Widening a roadway, and look what you find. Look at that. All right, are we ready for this? How about the lotto of the day? Here we go. This is the jackpot slots picture. Gotta love it. This man bought 3 tickets for 1 lottery drawing. I don't know if this is the same picture, but this Maryland man bought 3 tickets for a single lottery drawing, and he won a total prize rather, of $125,000. This guy is from Baltimore County. He told the Maryland lottery officials that he always buys a 50-cent straight bet ticket for every pick 5 drawing, but he adds $1 straight bets on Mondays and Fridays. So Mondays and Fridays are special. He said he followed the same strategy when he visited Liberty Wine and Spirits to buy tickets for the December 2nd evening pick drawing. He checked his numbers on his phone after the drawing and discovered he'd won 2 $50,000 prizes and a $25,000 prize. He said, I was like, wow, I actually won it. He said he has big plans for his winnings. He's going to help his kids, grandkids, and he's going to use the rest to pay off his car. Okay, I have a second one as well, second lotto of the day. And this is what the picture is of. This woman from Michigan, her lucky lottery streak brought her $1.5 million. This lady has been pretty lucky. She has been playing lottery games, recently saw her winning streak hit 1.54 million in a progressive jackpot. She's 53. She told officials she'd recently had some lottery luck when she bought her jackpot slots fast cash ticket from the Beacon and Bridge Market in Fenton, Michigan. She said jackpot slots is my favorite fast cash game. I play it regularly. She said, I looked the ticket over right after I bought it and I saw that I had won, but I had to scan it on the lottery app to be sure that I was seeing it right. She said, when the winning amount of 1.54 million came up on screen, I immediately called my husband to tell him the good news. She said, I've been pretty lucky playing this Fast Cast and Club Keno lately, so winning this jackpot prize is icing on the cake. She is going to buy a new car and she's going to do a little bit of investing, and congratulations to her. Oh, we've talked about this type of story before. This is a hydrofoil ferry, but now they have them in Lake Tahoe, these flying ferries. They're hoping that this electric hydrofoil ferry, which has a long way to go before it can actually be used, might be the answer to the traffic madness in the Tahoe area, this flying electric ferry. So we talked about it when it was first introduced by the Swedish company that has made it. It seats 30 people plus their skis or bicycles, uses hydrofoil technology or underwater wings to travel above the water's surface. They say without the friction of waves, the ferry can efficiently use energy and reach high speeds. You could get from Tahoe City to South Lake in about 30 minutes. The founder and CEO of Fly Tahoe, driving between Tahoe City and South Lake takes 45 minutes to an hour, and that's when the roads are clear. So this man's name is Ryan Meinzer. Again, he's the founder and CEO of Fly Tahoe. He said he's been traveling to Tahoe for 15 years while working for startups and living in San Francisco. But lately, he's been splitting his time between both places. So he spent a good amount of time stuck in traffic in the Tahoe area. He said, I've been seeing this problem for more than a decade, and I wondered, how can we fix this? So he's trying to bring these electric hydrofoil ferries to Lake Tahoe. He said, the harder the problem, the more fun it is because the bigger impact you actually have. And there's a lot of obstacles in his way. He said the first flying ferry in the United States will be coming to Lake Tahoe. The hardest problems require the greatest effort and risk, but they also have the biggest reward. So long as he says, as you can be the person to solve something that no one else has figured out. So that, he says, is how he's approaching this Fly Tahoe situation. He said, cash is king and knowledge is power, but motivation rules. So he's betting at everything on this. We'll see if he gets it done. It'd be interesting. He calls the ferry a Back to the Future idea, and SF Gate has a big article about this if you want to look it up. But it'll be interesting to see if he gets the permits needed to make this happen. And how fast is fast? How fast will it be able to go? I don't know. I thought this was a really, really wild story. There's been a problem out the Madonna Inn. Pardon me, cough break. A lot of people want this rug. It is pretty cool. It's right at the entrance when you walk in. But apparently, it's been stolen for the 5th time in 4 years. This is the first time the thieves actually brought it back. 5 times this Madonna Inn rug has been lifted. Yep. It was stolen from the hotel's Gold Rush Steakhouse on November 16th. And then it was returned through the mail on December 2nd. No note, nothing, just returned. They say it's been stolen 5 times, once in March of this year. Each time it's cost the hotel $250 to replace it. This is the first time they say they've received it back. It's possible that the social media circulation and the photos influenced the return, they say, but that's speculation. Maybe somebody just felt bad. Madonna Inn's general manager went on Facebook offering $500 upon the rug's return and the identification of the thieves. They have apparently they know that it was two people in their late teens or early 20s. They were wearing black sweatshirts and medical masks. They ran into the Madonna Inn and they stole the rug before leaving the scene in a silver pickup. They thought maybe that it was a local fraternity. What's near there? Cal Poly? They say they can't confirm it. They say this is always boys that have stolen it between the ages of 20 and 25. They come in pairs and they always have a getaway car waiting for them. There's some joke at some fraternity, right? Where it's a hazing incident to steal this rug. They reported the theft to the police. Police identified the owner of the truck, who they assumed was the mother of one of the thieves, but this lady refused to provide the police with any further information. And now the Madonna says, okay, at this point, I think we're just going to let it go. The rug has been returned, but we're hoping that all the media coverage will deter any future thieves from stealing the Madonna rug once again. It looks smaller in the picture than it is. It's pretty large. They have to roll it up and it takes two of them to haul it out there. So 5 times this thing has been stolen. It's very popular, this, you know? And we talk about, I don't know if this is a good idea. This is kind of futuristic and weird in a way. We're creating an artificial solar eclipse. ESA has launched a spacecraft that will eventually create an artificial solar eclipse. The ESA is the European Space Agency. And they said 2 spacecraft were launched from India last Thursday, and they were designed to form a single ship that will create an artificial solar eclipse while it's in orbit. That satellites on the Proba 3 rocket will fly in formation within millimeters of each other as if they were one giant spacecraft. They said 14 European Space Agency member states came together in what they hope will demonstrate a new high-skill autonomous control maneuvers in space. So this is what they're doing. They said the hard work really begins now because to achieve Proba 3's mission goals, the 2 satellites need to achieve positioning accuracy down to the thickness of an average fingernail while positioned 1.5 football pitches apart. Interesting. Can they do it? The satellites will eventually reach a highly elliptical orbit during its mission that will take it 373 miles from Earth, all the way to 37,612 miles. So interesting. Now, I don't know why they want to create a fake solar eclipse. Maybe they just want to see if they can do it. They said it's an exciting feeling to see this challenging enterprise enter orbit. So maybe they just want to see if it's possible. I don't know. I don't know if we need to be blocking out the sun on purpose, but they're going for it. And there you have it. There's a sad story. We've talked about stories like this on the show before about loneliness. And here we have another study about people that are just really lonely. And it's a problem that we've seen over and over again, right? I have a picture of somebody that's lonely and feeling sad. That's a bummer. Here she is. She's just alone. But it can cause all kinds of problems. It can cause, oh, no, they're not giving me my lonely picture. She looks sad in the picture. Anyway, here's what I can tell you about this loneliness study that I found today. And this is a study of Americans. U.S. residents aged 50 to 80 are experiencing widespread loneliness. They say fewer older U.S. residents feel as lonely as isolated as they did during the pandemic, but many of them still feel alone. This new national poll on healthy aging was published Monday in JAMA, the network the journal JAMA, Journal of the American Medical Association, I think it stands for. It shows that more than 1/3 of people ages 50 to 80 feel lonely, and almost nearly as many feel isolated as well. This team from the University of Michigan Institute for Healthcare Policy and Innovation in Ann Arbor did this poll. It was supported by funding from AARP. And they say some older adults, particularly those that had significant physical health or mental health challenges, are the most vulnerable to loneliness and social isolation, which are really important health issues. Like any other medical issue, according to study authors, we need to think about these issues in that way. Chronic loneliness can affect your physical health, your mental health, even longevity and cognition as well, and memory. So it's important to know. It's one of the reasons I'm glad that we have each other here. So if you're feeling lonely, I'm glad we have this interaction together, this ability to talk in the chat, right? And by the way, if I don't mention it enough, anyone always is welcome to come on this show. I should do this at the beginning of every show. There is the link to get on the show. So if anyone ever wants to pop in, have a comment on a story, talk about something, always welcome to do that. I always invite you and to be part of this conversation and welcome you to the After Party Live to chit chat. So there's no reason for us to be lonely here because we have this interaction time with each other. They did a study in 2024. They said 33% of older adults sensed being lonely sometimes or often in the past year, which they said was about the same as in 2018. During the years between, as many as 42% of older adults experienced this degree of loneliness. In between 2018 and 2024, we had the pandemic, right? 29% of older adults said they felt isolated sometimes or frequently in 2024, which was just above the 27% rate in 2018. So they say the statistics are a bit encouraging, that the degrees of loneliness and isolation have reverted to where they were pre-pandemic. But they say it's also important for doctors, clinicians to ask about this during appointments, medical appointments, the same way that they would ask you about diet or exercise, because loneliness is enough of an indicator that there could be mental and physical health, and it's important enough as far as keeping yourself healthy that we should ask about it. We should know. So they said it's also important for family and friends of people that are older to know that they can feel lonely and that they can feel isolated, and to know that, to make an extra effort to have them not feel that way. So I know that's a kind of a depressing study, but it's important to know it. It's important to, I think, to make sure that we have that information so we can fight against it. And that's one of the things I'm doing with this show. We're against loneliness and we're in favor of lifting people up. So that's it. We talk a lot on the show also about AI. I don't think I have a picture of this story, but I'm fascinated. Here I do. I'll show you a picture of boobies, kind of. It's a mammogram, but this is a story about how AI is assisting the fight against breast cancer. And so I think a lot of times we talk about AI maybe in a scary, negative way. This is one of those things where you look at it and go, oh, that's pretty cool that they're able actually to do this. So here's the picture of boobs. I'm going to get demonetized for saying that probably. There you go. There's the boobies. There's the mammogram. But this AI technology is being used to compare mammograms over time to help predict breast cancer. A new AI can help identify women at a higher risk for developing breast cancer by tracking changes in breast tissue, according to this new study. And this is really important because the way we survive this is by catching it early. AI can maybe catch it really before it gets going. The AI compares a woman's own mammograms over time, looking for early signs of breast cancer that are really hard even for well trained doctors to see. The new method is able to detect, they say, subtle changes over time in repeated mammogram images that are not visible to the eye, according to lead researchers at the Washington University School of Medicine in St. Louis. The AI detected or identified women at high risk of breast cancer 2.3 times more accurately than standard screening methods. This, according to a study reported last Thursday in the journal JCO Clinical Cancer Informatics. They said we're seeing ways to improve early detection, since that increases the chances of successful treatment. This improved prediction of risk also may help researchers surrounding prevention so that we can find better ways for women who fall into the high risk category to lower their 5-year risk of developing breast cancer. For this study, researchers built an AI that discerns subtle differences in mammograms. So that could be change in density texture, in calcification, asymmetry within the breasts. The team trained the AI on mammograms taken of more than 100,000 women who received breast cancer screening at the Siteman Cancer Center between 2008 and 2012. The women were followed through 2020, and nearly 500 subsequently developed breast cancer. And then they tested the AI on a separate set of more than 18,000 women who got mammograms at Emory University in Atlanta between 2013 and 20. 332 women were diagnosed with breast cancer in that group. And women judged to be high risk by the AI were 21 times more likely to be diagnosed with breast cancer within 5 years compared to those at the lowest risk, according to researchers. Here's another thing they found: 53 out of every 1,000 women in the high risk group developed breast cancer compared to fewer than 3 out of every 1,000 in the low risk group. So the researchers are now trying to test this AI in women of diverse racial and ethnic backgrounds to make sure it's equally accurate for everyone. And they have a patent pending on their AI, so don't go trying to steal it. I say, if this is the use of AI, I'm all for it. We start taking away jobs, all radiologists would say their job is being aided and helped by this technology, not taken away. Will you start taking away people's jobs with robotics and AI and all these things? I know some people say it's progress and we'll all just have to retrain ourselves and do different things, but this is the use of AI I can get behind. Saving lives. Thank you very much. I'll take it. Hey, we're getting a new area code. I know this isn't super interesting, but I just wanted to throw it out there. So, you see an 837 number calling. It's in the 530 region. What is the current 530 region? In the next year, you're going to start getting calls from this 837 area code. They're adding it to the 530 area code region because there's a high demand for new telephone numbers in 530. 530 covers portions of Alpine, Butte, Colusa, El Dorado, Glen, Humboldt, Lassen, Modoc, Mono, Nevada, Placer, Plumas, Shasta. 530 is big. Sierra, Siskiyou, Solano, Sutter, Tehama, Trinity, Yolo, and Yuba counties. So that's a pretty wide swath, and it makes sense that they would need another area code now. It also includes South Lake Tahoe and Truckee communities and a lot of unincorporated areas. So now it's 530 and 837. So if you live in the 530 area code, but you request a new service or an additional line, you could be assigned an 837 area code. It's going to be an overlay to the 530 area code region. It's the second area code to the same geographic region served by the existing 530 area code. So just know that's coming. I have a story about a cave because it is Hide in Your Cave Monday. And I found this cool cave today. Here it is. If I can pronounce the name of it right, it's the Sterkfontein Caves in South Africa. These caves are cool looking, as you can see, but also really interesting because they had a collection of humanoid fossils dating back millions of years. The Sterkfontein Caves are also called the Cradle of Humankind. These caves are located an hour outside of Johannesburg, South Africa. They were once mined for lime deposits in the early 20th century. They've since produced more than 500 fossils that have added key insight into humankind's evolutionary process. Two of the most notable discoveries are Mrs. Pless, a 2 million-year-old skull, largely still intact, and a nearly complete Australopithecus skeleton dubbed Littlefoot. That's upwards of 3 million years old. It has cavernous limestone passageways draped by glorious stalactites and stalagmites. The Sterfontein Cave possesses a geological beauty as rich as its history. Visitors can go on cave tours. They have an accurate reconstruction of a mined cave. They have a modern boardwalk you can see here installed that leads to the excavation site where many of the cave's legendary fossils were first unearthed. The cave is even home to a mysterious underground lake. They say it's too dangerous to explore that area, though. But if you do visit, they say make sure you stop by the visitor center because they have fascinating educational exhibits about the history of humankind as far back as the creation of the universe. Sterkfontein Caves in South Africa. I could hide out there for a while for sure. Look at that. And that, my friends, is Hide in Your Cave Monday. There you have it. Well, I hope you had a good after party live. I know I did for sure. Tomorrow on the Mark Thompson Show, David K. Johnston will be along, Jefferson Graham will be along, and Michael Schur tells me he's looking for other guests this week as well. So who knows who will turn up on the show tomorrow, but it's going to be really fun. So that's the Mark Thompson Show, 11 a.m. here on YouTube. Shortly thereafter, we start the after party live, and tomorrow is Travel Tuesday. If you have any suggestions for where you'd like to see us go tomorrow, please email me, kim@theafterparty.live. And I always love your suggestions, articles that you send, whatever you want to send me, except for the nasty nakedy stuff. Well, no, don't send that. All right. Have a great rest of your day and make it a really, really good one. And I will see you tomorrow on the Mark Thompson Show and back here on the after party. Until then, bye, everybody.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.